Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us.
I'm excited to be here.
Me too.
Yeah.
Today, we are going to be tackling something I think is really important, marriage.
Yeah.
And to help us unpack this topic, we're going to be looking at Myles Munroe's book, The Purpose and Power of Love and Marriage.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I think when a lot of people hear marriage, they kind of think, oh, typical relationship advice.
Right?
But trust me, this book goes way deeper than your typical relationship self-help book.
It does.
And I think one of the things that makes it so unique is that it's faith-based,
Yeah.
but it also gets into like the really practical nitty-gritty of like what makes a marriage work or not work
It really does.
in a way that I think will really resonate with anyone no matter what you believe.
I think so too.
So have you had a chance to dig into this book yet?
Yes, I have.
What are your overall impressions?
I think it really challenges a lot of the assumptions and cultural norms surrounding marriage today.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, with divorce rates being so high and, the definition of marriage, it seems like it's constantly evolving.
Right.
Kind of have to wonder, like, is marriage even still relevant?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Like, is it just a piece of paper?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there something more to it?
And that's what Munroe is really getting at. Like, he wants us to figure out, is there something more to this?
Wow.
And he argues that a lot of the confusion we have about marriage stems from the fact that we've lost sight of where it came from.
Oh, interesting.
The origin of marriage, like we treat marriage like something that humans invented, but it's not. It's part of a much bigger picture.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this bigger picture.
Well, Munroe's main argument is that marriage wasn't dreamt up by humans.
Right.
It was designed by God, like it's a divine institution.
Okay.
And he uses this powerful analogy to try to explain this.
Okay.
He compares marriage, not to mixing ingredients like in a recipe,
Okay.
but to the fusion of atoms.
Okay, fusion. That's a pretty intense comparison for a marriage.
Right.
What's he getting at with that?
He's talking about inseparability. Think about it. Like when two atoms fuse, they literally become one.
Yeah.
You can't separate them without causing a major reaction.
Right.
And Munroe says the same principle applies to marriage.
Okay.
A man and woman, they become one flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And if you try to separate what God has joined together, well, there's going to be some fallout, some consequences.
Wow, that really puts things in perspective.
It does.
Makes you kind of think twice about this whole disposable relationship mentality, that's so prevalent today.
Exactly. And that leads perfectly into Munroe's next point, which is how we view marriage in modern society. He contrasts this disposable mindset where relationships are seen as, temporary, easily replaceable, with the idea that marriage is like a precious gem.
Oh, interesting.
That takes time.
Yeah.
Pressure, commitment
to
create something truly valuable and lasting.
Oh, I like that.
Don't you?
Yeah. So it's not about just chasing those butterflies, that instant gratification.
Right.
It's about the long game, the commitment.
The commitment, exactly. Yeah. He compares it to the formation of diamonds.
Wow.
Which, it takes millennia under intense pressure to create something beautiful and enduring.
Right.
Munroe's arguing that marriage is similar.
Okay.
Like it's designed to withstand life's pressures, not just cater to fleeting feelings.
Right.
He says that God intended marriage for permanence.
Okay.
And when we approach it with a short-term mindset, we're kind of missing the point.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Completely.
It's interesting how he connects that, like the durability of a diamond with the commitment needed in a marriage.
Yes.
You almost never hear those two things in the same sentence.
You don't.
I like it.
It's a good analogy. And this idea of permanence, it's not just about like individual happiness either.
Oh, okay.
Munroe argues that the health of marriages directly impacts the health of society as a whole.
Whoa. That's a big statement.
It is. I'm curious about that connection.
Yeah.
How does he see those two things like playing out in the real world?
Well, he argues that strong marriages, they create strong families, which are the foundation of a strong and stable society.
Right.
But on the other hand, if we weaken marriage, it's like everything else starts to unravel too. We see it reflected in things like the breakdown of communities and the rise of social problems that come from broken families.
That's a sobering thought. It makes you realize that marriage isn't just a personal choice.
Right.
It has much wider implications.
It does.
It's bigger than us.
Yeah, way bigger. And then it makes you wonder, what are we getting wrong? Why are so many marriages failing?
Right, exactly. Like, what's the disconnect? Well, and that's where Munroe gets really practical.
Oh.
He actually lays out some of the worst reasons to get married.
Oh, interesting.
And I think many of us have probably seen these play out in real life.
Yeah.
Maybe in our own relationships, maybe in the relationships of people we know.
I have a feeling we've all been there at some point or another, right?
Yeah.
So spill the tea.
Yeah.
What are some of those bad reasons that he highlights?
One big one is marrying to escape a bad situation, like a dysfunctional family.
Okay.
Or a bad living situation.
Yeah.
It seems logical on the surface, who doesn't want to escape a negative environment?
Right.
But Munroe says you're often just trading one set of problems for another.
Yeah.
Instead of addressing the underlying issue, you're bringing it into the new relationship, which rarely ends well.
Right. That makes sense.
It does.
It's like putting a Band-Aid on a much deeper wound.
Exactly.
So what are some other red flags he talks about?
Well, another one is marrying out of fear of hurting someone's feelings.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you feel pressured by family, societal expectations, or you just don't want to disappoint the other person.
Right.
But saying yes for the wrong reasons, it almost always leads to resentment down the road.
Absolutely.
Regret.
Yeah.
It's not fair to either person.
Oh, I agree. It's like a recipe for disaster.
It is. What about fear of independence? Have you ever heard of that one?
Oh, totally. Like never wanting to fully mature or take responsibility for your own life.
Exactly.
Like you're clinging to someone else.
Munroe talks about that.
Yeah.
And how it can actually stunt your growth and prevent you from becoming the best version of yourself.
Right.
Marriage should be about two whole individuals coming together.
Totally.
Not two halves trying to become one.